All right, welcome to the course. This is Network Admin 5203 here at Alfred State. If you don't know who I am, my name is Justin Briggs. If you're not an Alfred State student, there are some assumptions built into this course. First of which, that you understand some basic networking. So routers, switches, and the protocols that are related to those. Second of which, this course and this YouTube recorded lecture series is optimized for this course and for our students. There are going to be things that we're going to go over that we have assumed that we have covered with our own students. If you have any questions, reach out to me under the comments if you need anything, and I'll attempt to help you the best way I can. With that said, let's jump into the intro to the course, which we're going to go over the syllabus and the expectations of the course itself and what we expect out of you leaving this course in terms of knowledge. So let's go over to the PowerPoint here. All right, student learning outcomes. We expect you to be able to do these general things. So identify network performance issues. So we're talking about inefficiencies for the most part, and occasionally we'll talk about security around here. So denial of service, you need to be able to point out. Okay, install, configure, and maintain network server software. So we're talking on services for the most part. Make sure that you can actually get a server up and running, and make sure you can get the services that you need, like DHCP, up and running so you can actually have a network and a domain. Install and configure and maintain client software. Hey, self-explanatory, right? Especially as a network admin, your clients, your users, the people that you help in your company are going to need particular software. All right, in this course, we're a little bit limited on hardware in terms of what we can actually do, but we're going to do the best we can to simulate a true enterprise environment with the equipment that we have. Okay, first principles of network security. And yeah, overall, just, hey, make sure everything's locked down at the basic level. Make sure there's passwords on everything. Make sure that people that don't need access to a particular folder or a particular resource, they don't have access to it, okay? Principle minimum permissions, okay? Be able to design and implement disaster recovery plan, okay? So again, it's somewhat self-explanatory. Make sure that you have a plan when something goes wrong. So we have the immediate and local, so your data backups essentially, and then we have disaster recovery for things like natural disasters, which you need to have a plan for that as well. And sometimes the answer is, well, we don't have the resources to have a hot site or a cold site, or a warm site. So we acknowledge that it's a risk, but we're going to move forward with that. Okay, so that's a conversation that we're going to have later on in this recorded lecture series, and then if you're taking the course in person, we'll definitely have that in class as well. Restore system from backups, self-explanatory. I'm going to show you how to do a backup. We're going to do a hardware backup first, and then we'll do all the data stuff afterwards. Be able to read and understand system logs. Again, self-explanatory. Go into Event Viewer, and let's see what we got. Okay, create and manage user accounts. Again, self-explanatory. Use and understand network monitoring tools. Okay, so we're talking Wireshark at this point, NSTAT, basically things that are built in or something that is open source that we have easy access to. Okay, and then identify and understand server hardware. Hey, most of the world is essentially collapsing in on itself. So a lot of the things that you used to be able to get away with in terms of skill set and knowledge that you could give off to somebody else is handled by one person. So you need to be able to understand server hardware and be able to spec out servers and understand hardware in terms of how the software interacts with that hardware. Okay, so let's move on here. Course layout. This is generally the progression that we're going to go through. Okay, so we got to do a lot of review, and so it's going to be very network heavy review, and then a lot of hardware review, and it's going to be very quick because we don't have a lot of time to go over these concepts, and then we have the rest of the course to do as well. Also in class, if you're taking the course in class or even on here, you can follow along, but we're going to be doing a lot of VM work and making sure that we can actually create our own networks on our laptops. Since we're talking about that, you're going to need about 6 to 8 gigs free of memory if you want to use a desktop experience client system. Essentially, if you don't have that much space, we can use something like a Linux server as a client, and then I can show you how to set those up, but it's going to be a little bit different from what the intent of the course was, but that's fine. We're going to have to do what we have to do. Part of the reason why we got to do it this way is because of COVID. So if the school decides that, hey, we can't be here anymore, it's gotten out of control, or we're going to a hybrid environment, we have to be able to continue courses, and we can't be dependent on physical servers that are located at the school that we have no access to. So we have to do something along the lines of using student laptops to make sure that people understand what they're doing. All right, developing, configuring internetworking strategies. Okay, so PKIs, we're going to go over that a little bit. It's a little hard to do when you don't have a ton of clients and you don't have a ton of ways of testing to make sure that these keys actually work. Naturally, we're going to show you how to do it. We're going to show you that it does work, but it's going to be difficult to do on the level that I would want to do. Okay. Again, disaster recovery is going to be towards the end, user environments towards the end in terms of setting up actually everything. There's going to be a lot of services that we got to walk through and make sure that you guys understand and actually can implement it before we start tinkering with the system in terms of we have a permission that's blocking you from accessing this thing rather than having a network issue. And then shares, drives, folders, and then if we have a little bit more time, we can start doing a little networks that are just a little bit more complex in terms of the resources that we have. But again, it's going to be limited to your laptop and what you have. Obviously, we recommend 16 gigs, and then in terms of storage itself, probably 100 gigs is more than enough. 50 is probably fine as well. 30 is pushing it. That's when you start getting into those Linux server environments. And hey, it's supposed to be a Windows course, but use the tools that you have. Okay. Syllabus highlights, no late work, right? Hit the target. You know when the due date is. We got to get away from this. Please accept this because I'm begging you to do so. Okay, academic dishonesty, like everywhere else, is zero tolerance. If I find evidence of academic dishonesty, it will be turned in. For needs assessments, okay, so this is going to be essentially your practice getting up to the projects where you have to essentially identify and then give a solution to particular problems. So I limited the scope on these because of the time that you have to do them, but it does give you practice for the projects, which are much bigger. So since we're talking about the projects, is going to be essentially you have a new environment and you have to give a full solution for it. So your routers, your switches, your servers, your services, your disaster recovery plans, permissions and groups, all of it. We need to make sure that you guys can actually do it for these projects, and these needs assessments are going to help you build up to that point. But we need to make sure that you understand the basics of network admin along with some of the new and developing skill sets that the workplace is asking for in terms of hardware compatibility and installing environments for databases and other software. Okay. Discussions will be professional and is based on results and conditions and not because of the person or how they can never do anything right. If anything happens like that, you will be dismissed. Okay. All assignments are available on Blackboard. Everything is opened up. So make sure that you're actually looking at what is coming up and make sure you're actually trying to understand as we're going through in the course and through the class. These are the things that I need to be able to accomplish primarily the projects well. However, yeah, if you want to get ahead, go ahead and do so, all right? especially if you're confident or you think that the course itself is going too slow, which there's going to be a few of you that think that. So go ahead and get ahead if you like, and it's going to make your finals week or the last little bit of the semester significantly easier. Okay, all assignments are due on Friday. In part, it makes it easier for you guys to know when something's actually due. And in part, it gives me the weekend to grade something, so when you come back on Monday, you have almost immediate feedback on the things that you're doing. Okay, office hours, I don't know the schedule at this point for the courses I'm teaching. This is a very proactive recording. This will be determined here shortly and then the next few days. Office is still EJ Brown at 405, and then we also have a Discord server, so if you guys need help, you can contact me directly, and especially if you're working at night where I'm not going to be up with you guys, go ask other students, see if you can have any help. Obviously, here on Discord, academic dishonesty still applies, so if you're taking someone else's work, or if they're giving you their work, still academic dishonesty. Okay, walking out, we expect you to be fluent in creating a network, essentially. We expect you to be relatively fluent in the hardware necessary to create that environment. So be relatively fluent in the differences between your switch interfaces and what a switch actually does and what the data rates actually are, and the difference between throughput and latency, and the same thing with a router, and understanding what the router actually does. Okay, and then relatively confident and competent in security. So relative things. So your user environment, you're making sure that your ports are closed for the most part. We're not going to be doing any firewall work here. We have a separate course for that, but it is there. It's a thing that we'll probably end up going over on the software side, so Windows Firewall. Okay. Okay, so that's the end of the PowerPoint presentation. So if I throw the syllabus up here. So according to the school, this is a contract that you guys had no influence in making. However, this is the thing that we're binded to. So let's go over it real quick. We're going to do open educational resources for this, so you don't have to buy any books. We already went over course topics, grading, even split between your needs assessment and projects. So that also means because there's only a handful of needs assessments and only 2 projects, if you miss one of them, you're going to be hurting. So don't miss any assignments. Okay. Okay. Regular attendance is expected, and we are adopting the Alfred State standard for this. I'm not going to take attendance, right? The reason for this is because I'm going to treat you guys like professionals. You guys have the freedom to do what you need. If you need to work on a project at the sacrifice of one of my classes, go ahead and do so. You're not going to get penalized for it. However, that also means, on the other end, that it's your choice, right? So if you miss an assignment, you didn't plan well enough. You didn't give yourself enough time. If you miss something in class that we said in class, and that was critical to your success, you didn't show up to class. Okay, so these things are going to be on you. Primarily, we're going to be discussing things that are important in class. If it's official and immediate and a big change, it'll be through email, through a group email. If it's relatively not important but necessary for me to communicate for something that's immediate, like a room change, that's probably going to be on Discord. So make sure you get on that Discord channel. There's going to be a little bit of communication through there. We won't have the same amount of recordings as we did last semester. This is supposed to function as that. However, yeah, Discord is still going to be, hey, this thing happened, shoot out a quick little message to everyone so we can actually communicate quickly. All right. Okay. General procedure when it comes to class etiquette. Show up reasonably dressed, treat people with respect, right? And be a decent person, right? That's essentially what this falls under. Late assignments, yeah, I don't take late assignments. Okay, unless something happened, and it'd have to be a relatively monumental event for me to take something late, but those events are few and far between. COVID, we've already talked about it. We got to prepare for a hybrid and remote, just in case that happens. And academic dishonesty, zero tolerance. All right. So with that said, that is the intro to the course. If you made it all the way through the video, good for you. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.